Hello, hello, hello. We are back again for another episode of Relationship Topia. Listen. Linda, Larry,
Lewis.
Leah, Lewis, all the people, right? I'm excited. We are here for Relationship Topia, and we have an amazing episode, as we always do, Jill, for you coming live but recorded. And we are continuing in our relationship status as it pertains to romantic relationships. We just came off of that was relationship with self and also with others as well, when we talked about the attachment theories. And this series, we're really going to be talking about making the right choice. So we have something really juicy planned for you on this evening, and we just want you to have an open mind, open perspectives. Everything we say, you probably won't agree with. You probably have your own perspectives and input, and we want to hear that, right? So put that in the comments section. Let us know how you feel about what we're sharing and anything that you may can add to the conversation as well. So with that being said, Jill speaks truth. You want to go ahead and get into it?
Hey y'all, hey, super excited to be talking on this topic, really just dealing with mate to date or like just mate selection in general. And with that, there's been a lot of conversations, right? I'm sure you've heard some of it. They throw around the term high value, the term high functioning and low functioning and low value is often some of the words that we hear in this space when you're talking about how do you make the right choice about somebody that you're considering or somebody that's interested in you, or how do you even go about that whole thing. So we want to bring, I guess, one, we're already saying making the right choice is a topic we talked about over a decade ago. And so we bringing that old thing back a little bit today, and we want to incorporate
Bringing it back.
bring that old thing back. So listen, we want to incorporate the definition. And according to, I'm going to say this is kind of according to Kevin Samuels, he's deceased. He was a big time relationship expert, as many of you guys know, at one time. And also Dr. Bryant, Cheyenne, I believe her name is Bryant, has been talking a lot about this high functioning, low value. So I just went to Dr. Google and say, how would Kevin Samuels define high value, and particularly a high value man? So let's see what it says here. So let's see. What he would typically say is high value is defined in terms of somebody income, right? So this is a six-figure guy. This is the person that has status. Maybe this is their career, maybe their position, power, influence, their circle, like who do they know? Who are they connected to? Those type of things. So you're looking at status, you're looking at power, influence, you're looking at wealth. And I mean, looks sometimes for guys, let's just be honest, is a toss up because sometimes the financial can trump a lot of things. And so a lot of times in the past, it seems like these type of men are highly sought after and idolized in relationships, right? And dating. And a lot of women like, oh, I mean, like, right, Charlie? I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, maybe not so much the influence stuff, but definitely about that six-figure thing that has become like a minimum standard, which is crazy because especially particularly in the Black community, I think a lot of people forget that women are outperforming men. All due respect to my brothers, and that may not be everybody watching this. I know we got some guys here that's well off and doing their thing, and that's amazing, and we celebrate you. But when we're talking about on a global scale and on a national average, the average Black man is not. I repeat, is not making six figures. I don't believe the average Black woman is making six figures, right? She's not.
Right.
And so we kind of taking these people that's in the 90 percentile or 95 percentile of the nation and trying to make them as a standard for what should be. So, but I don't want to get too wrapped up into that. What I really want to say is we want to make sure we're making the distinction and understanding really these things that has historically been labeled as high value, are they really that important? And really, what is high functioning? What does that look like? And how does that line up to what the discussion? And of course, well, not of course, some people may know when you're talking about functioning, and this is according to Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, she would argue that high functioning is more to deal with the soft skills. This is more to deal with what skill sets are you bringing into the relationship? Are you bringing in the skills of emotional intelligence, having some level of empathy, having some level of being an active listener, and showing a level of attunement, which attunement means when your partner is feeling a way, you are one aware of that feeling and you try to do something to help co-regulate and support and soothe them, especially when they're dealing with something difficult or difficult emotional feeling. So these are the type of skills. That's the emotional. There's also the social, which social is the level of awareness that you have about how people are perceiving you, how you're perceiving others, and all the things. And I've kind of insinuated it, but just communication skills at large. And yes, is listening. Yes, is showing empathy and all those things. But even your ability to resolve conflict, these are dealing with high functional type of behavior that a lot of times we totally ignore. For a long time, these things I don't often hear, even still today, Terrell, I'm not hearing a lot of conversations about just communication skills and conflict. Yeah, people say, oh, you got to communicate. Okay, we can be communicating, but we can be communicating ineffectively. Are we communicating? Are we able to regulate ourselves in a way? Do we have self-regulation with our own emotions? Or are we suppressing? Are we able to have a conversation without shouting at each other, without dismissing? It don't even have to be a shouting match. It doesn't have to be this high energy, argumentative type of thing for it to be negative. Somebody, when you come to your partner and you're telling them your feelings, and if they're dismissive, if they're defensive, meaning dismissive, like, oh, that's not a really big deal, you're making a big thing out of nothing. If they're defensive, oh, I didn't do that, you always do this. And, just lack of validation. Come on, that's where I'm trying to go right there. A lack of validation and your partner not being able to validate your emotions. That person that's not doing that is low functioning. Somebody that's able to do that is more high functioning. So like I said, this conversation can kind of go on and on and on, but I just wanted to kind of set that guideline of that these are the type of things in terms of high value and high functioning and how it's been defined, and really us taking a look at that and saying, one, are you looking at these things as you're dating, even in your marriage? You may be married and your partner may be low functioning in some of these areas. You may be married and your partner may be high functioning, and you may be low functioning. Come on, somebody. You may be high functioning. I think it is important to kind of identify, not for a point of shaming or anything, but for understanding. Like we're saying, we're establishing this place, Relationshiptopia, as the place to establish a training ground to foster healthy relationships. And what you're going to need is healing for sure. But in addition to that healing, you're going to need skill sets to help you to navigate. And we have to get beyond all the superficial things. And ladies and gentlemen, oh God, I got to say this, Trail, before I pass the mic back to you. Another thing, when it gets to the lady side with Kevin Samuel, may he rest in peace, it was a lot about her beauty, right? He would tell women the more beautiful they are, the more options they have, the more fit they are, the more options they have. Personally, I understand why he's saying that. I hate to admit, I do agree with him to some degree, at least from the initial standpoint, that a woman that's highly attractive and highly fit will likely draw in a lot more men, especially if she's, very friendly or smiles and all the things. There's a chance that she would have what we would say more options. But I think that's kind of more perceived than reality, because just because, come on, Holy Spirit, just because she has what is perceived as more options, which really is more attention, doesn't mean she's attracting a higher quality. Oh God, come on, somebody. Oh God, it's not like she's attracting a high caliber person. And I think that's what we miss in this whole thing. And it really just breaks my heart to see so many women go so far with the cosmetic surgery, with the booties, with all these things, trying to have this mold so they can get more attention, not realizing that getting more attention doesn't mean you're increasing the quality of the man that you're acquiring or that you're attracting into your life. I just got deep on me real quick. I didn't even expect that to go that way, but that's just how it came. I don't know, Trev, you want to chime in on this? What would you say to that? But I'm just like thinking, wow, a lot of people are trying to do all these physical things and meet these measures and money. And, men are like, don't mean because you do that, you're attracting a higher quality partner. Like, you're just attracting more attention. A lot of times it could be the opposite too, because what I found is that when it comes to men, yes, they want a woman that's beautiful, but a man that's really high functioning isn't going to choose a woman exclusively on her beauty. He's going to be looking for somebody that's high functioning too. So if he sees you're super superficial, a lot of times the high functioning man is going to overlook that woman because he's like, too high maintenance, got too much going on, just the nails, the hair, the weave, the booty, and no shade, no tea. I got a couple wigs that's like slaying. You'll be seeing them in rotation. Trust and believe, all the things. So I'm not shaming or bashing anyone, but I think it's important that we kind of call a spade and understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the impact as a result.
That's good stuff. And I want to say this regarding to the beauty point. And I have something to say, even with Samuel's perspective, which he had, not defending or not condoning, anybody's perspective. But I just want to share something. But here's the thing about beauty, everyone, right? So this is more so I'm talking to the guys right now. Beauty is fleeting. Meaning that physical attractiveness, and that could be, a guy's body can be beautiful, right? Physical attractiveness will fade over time. I know scientifically it has been research. I haven't read that research. Honestly, I don't know what that data looks like and what population size it was when they looked and saw well, men are more physically attracted than women are. Because I feel like some women are very physically attracted to guys. Like they look at attraction first based on a number of things, right? Lived experiences, past trauma. I mean, there's so many factors. And the Bible tells us in Proverbs 31:30 that charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So when we look at, high value and low value, high functioning and low functioning, I got what Samuels was saying to some degree. I kind of saw his point when he was having those conversations, but I think it went like in a far left way. And the message somehow got lost. And I want to say what him and Brian, I believe, said, and now she's saying, is we're looking for people with character and substance. I mean, you can define what that looks like for yourself, right? And your substance and character, or even value, if we're going to use that word, is going to look different, again, based on your experiences, based on your exposure, based on your environmental factors. I mean, there are so many different factors. We just came out of the series talking about really trauma and the effects of trauma as a result of attachment. So now we're talking about making the right choice and, dating to mate or mating to date. I think, no, dating to mate. I don't know.
Yeah, all the things.
Whichever way, right? So, but you got to think about the trauma. The reason why people are not showing up, and I'm going to use with character and substance, is because of trauma, right? So when we look at individuals that are not, have soft skills, or trauma and just lack of knowing or ignorance, not having a proper exposure or access to certain things, and just really ignorance, because you can have some people in a population or a culture of individuals that behave all the same way, and to them it is normal because that's culture, right? But then you go down the street and around the block and you have a different culture of people, and they're acting completely different, behaving completely different than the other folks, but they're used to their norm. It is not necessarily that either those are like toxic environments per se. They're just not parallel. They're extremely different spectrums. You go to Europe versus, Ukraine, is a totally different thing. So what what we have to ask ourselves, even in getting, well, I'm married, so I'm not asking myself that per se, but those that are looking for romantic relationships, and particularly marriage, what characteristics am I possessing? What is it about me that I am showing to be a worthy person to marry, if I can say that, a worthy person to be in a relationship with? What am I bringing to the table? So I believe that's what Bryant was sharing, right? She was sharing, these are certain, I like the word desirable qualities, because we all want to be desired. I feel most people want to be desired because God made us relationally, so we want to be desired. But if we're not putting in the work to attract a desirable mate, right? We're going to always look like an outcast or look like the black sheep. I believe there was something you talked about a long time ago, right? What is it? Track something about right attraction. I had it on the tip of my tongue, but I totally forgot it when I kept talking. Um, but we want to make sure that what we're attracting what we are, and only if you've already done the work. So that means that you're not struggling emotionally, right? And I'm not saying that you won't have bad days, because we're all going to have bad days regardless of how much work. I've been working for 30 years, Jill, and I still have bad days. The difference is I'm able to recognize those bad days quicker, and I'm able to get ahead of certain things quicker than I was, 30 years ago. So we all have to make sure that we're not unstable, or unstable, I guess I should say, in our emotional makeup, mentally unstable, even if we are dealing with certain areas of mental health and things of that nature. So addressing those things, but it's going to take a certain level. I believe you said it earlier, Jill, awareness, social awareness, right? Environmental awareness. Somebody at some point in an individual's life, even if it's that individual, will have to confront or share with them, like, hey, I see that you're on this journey going this way, and I see that you desire to be married or be in a relationship. Have you ever thought of why maybe you're not? Have you ever thought of why you are attracting these type of individuals? And then able to give that person a life lesson on what is considered a valuable mate or a functional mate. I believe a person has to know what they want and what they desire. And once they give you that description, right, then we can work with the framework of how we get there, if that makes sense.
That's good. And there's so many things I was thinking about, sis, when you were saying that. One thing is to some degree, I mean, you have some level of influence on
Jill,
who you
can you hear me?
attract. Yes, you can hear me.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, so we have some influence on who we attract, but you're not totally in control
Yes,
of that. But you're in
I can
control.
now. Yeah.
Okay, we have some influence on who we attract, but we don't have all the influence on who we attract. But you do have all the influence on who you entertain. And everybody you attract doesn't mean you need to entertain. But in order for you to be able to cipher that, you need to, and you get some clarity around what is needed. To go on a date, someone I'm sure many people that's watching this, I would imagine, are similar ages. And me and my sister, you're a millennial, you're a Gen Xer, right? So we're not. I would be surprised if there's, the Z babies is listening to this. And if you are, kudos to you. But what I'm saying that to say, if you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, we shouldn't be making the same mistakes and sorting after the same superficial things that we did back then, because hopefully by now you realize that does not work, and those things do not sustain a relationship. And oftentimes, sometimes people can hide behind good looks and be underdeveloped in certain areas. And some of that underdevelopment doesn't have to be a narcissist, or don't have to be low functioning, or whatever. We don't have to even put a label on it. Some of it's just immaturity. Some of it is just lack of experience. And so we get to take some time, and this is going to be your homework that I'm going to encourage you guys to do, is take a look at your relationships and where there was a breakdown. And then figure out what is the opposite thing, or what's something at another level that you need. So if you realize in your last situationship or relationship, you struggle with holding boundaries. Okay, then this is saying, okay, these are the boundaries that I'm going to establish for myself, and these are the boundaries I'm going to hold, and how I'm going to hold it. Or even in terms of the other party, perhaps you deal with somebody who was avoidant and didn't communicate at all, or avoid arguments or difficult conversations. So then now you're saying, okay, you need somebody that you need to be able to have those communication skills and conflict resolution skills, but also you're looking for somebody who also had those skills. And I mean, just so many things that we can bring into the conversation. But what we want to do is increase your awareness and consciousness about, you guys, let's get over the looks. I mean, it's cute and nice and all that, and that's yes. And I'm not saying you got to date somebody that you can't stand to look at, or look like a monkey or whatever. I mean, six, let's go. 6, let's go. 5, 6, let's go. You know what I mean? We got to get.
She's gonna look better by and by.
Come on.
When the morning come.
Yes. And really, when you really start connecting with people, you can become much more attracted to them, because we really want to connect with people at a soul level, at a spiritual level, at an emotional level. I've been watching the show lately, Love is Blind, and it's been really interesting to see how, and as the name insinuates, I'm sure many of you have seen it, some of you have not, where the show where they go behind this wall, and the one man and one woman, and they just start talking, don't know, have any idea what the other person looks like, and they just talk about who they are, what they like, their feelings, their emotions, what's important to them, and they connect. And the guy has to decide, right, before he sees her, if he wants to propose. And he proposes behind the wall. And the whole argument is in this thing is that the emotional connection supersedes and so much important than the physical. So if you don't get anything from this conversation today, what we want you to understand and start to open your horizon, that we get to get past what's traditionally been labeled as high value partners, and getting so caught up on how much people make, what car people drive, even with their own self, getting overly infatuated with your own looks and all of that, and start focusing on the internal and how you can develop the skills and how you show up from the inside out. And this is not a new conversation we're having. We've been having this conversation for a decade, but we
20
are
something
adding
years,
some
over a decade.
we're adding some different textures in it. So that's kind of like my closing thing and my
Yeah.
growth work for you guys as we wrap up. I don't know if Trump, you want to say what's your final words and advice to the people today, as we'll come back for part 2.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe more parts. I really next time want to talk about digging a little bit into influence by environmental influence, and how that shapes and frames people, and why they are picking these different mates, or why they're not. So we'll come back next time. We're going to have some more. We're going to get go deeper, go wider, I'll go further in this conversation. So this was just like the tip of the iceberg. We just wanted to give you a little snack, a little appetite, chew on that, do the growth work, and then come back next week as we get deeper into the conversation.
All right. So until next time, you
So until
guys,
next time,
peace and blessings. Have a great day.
peace and blessed.